Hello and welcome all you bee enthusiasts to Dilmah Conservation's webinar series on Friendly Beekeeper. So Dilmah has been working extensively on bees for the past 2 years and conserving, researching and educating. And finally, we're really happy to launch our next step with one of the sector best experts on apiculture and on bees, Dr. Anura Sirisena. So this entire webinar series, today is the introductory session, which he will be doing. It will be a solo lecture by him. And in the coming up webinars, he will be joined with a lot of other professionals based on the topic. So thank you again for joining. And I hope that you'll learn a lot, or those who are already doing beekeeping or learning about bees, you will get to brush yourself a little bit about this amazing, beautiful insects. So Dr. Anura, he's an expert on insect taxonomy. Also, for which he has obtained his PhD on 2015 as well. So at present, he heads the Department of Plant Sciences, and he's also a senior lecturer in entomology, Faculty of Agriculture, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka. He's also a member of expertise on Bambara Conservation Project, and he's a member of Pollinator Conservation Group in Sri Lanka. Both those initiatives launched by the Ministry of Environment itself. Plus, he's an international member of the Entomology Society of America. So that's why he's the best person for him to share his knowledge on bees in a platform like this. So before moving on to the lecture, I will be quickly sharing what kind of a consistence today you have for the webinar. So it will be an introductory session, as I previously mentioned, which is mostly you learn about how the bees came to be and how they start existing in the world, the history, and a little bit about the amazing families and colonies. And believe it or not, like the human subcultures, they also have caste systems, but in their world, in bees' world, it's all for good, which is in contrast to human caste systems. So also, so you'll learn about different kind of bees as well, and we're keeping the best for later. So the first session, you'll learn the basics about bees and their ecosystem and their social relations. And second, the most awaited session will be in the next month, that is how to start beekeeping. This will help the beginners in an immense way, and also those who have started beekeeping also can be benefited out of this lecture. Third, we will be teaching, or we will be talking about how to speak the bee lingo, because you know bees are very sensitive insects, and also they sometimes can be a little wild as well. So you need to have the safety and you need to understand them to deal with them. When you understand their language, they're very innocent, they're very harmless. So Dr. Anura will talk more about it on the third session. Fourth, how to encourage your garden space to facilitate beekeeping or facilitate bees. That's going to be the fourth session. Fifth, what are bees eating and what are their nutrient source, when to feed them and what to feed will be the fifth session. And then sixth, they also go through certain kind of population stressors and those other factors. So how to manage a mass bee exodus will be the sixth session. And seventh, the most delicious segment of our webinar, the final one, bees honey, how to choose good quality honey, how to identify and how to produce in your home backyard a good quality bees honey. Before we jump into today's session, I want you all to go through the housekeeping rules. That's on the left side of the window. You can see participate in the poll. There will be questions popping here and there during the lecture. Those just to encourage you to interact with the session, because Zoom, we are not physically can be able to see each other interact. So this is just to keep the session interesting. Also, this will help our resource person to understand the participant, the audience, and the level of their understanding. So just have fun, interact with the polls, and on the right hand side of the window, you can see the control panel of your Zoom. And these sessions, the microphones are muted and your videos are switched off for your convenience and for the smooth functionality of this webinar, because this is also live broadcasted on Facebook. So on the red arrow, you can see pointed into Q&A button. If you get any kind of a riddle or questions, or you get some curious comment about bees, just type it in while you're listening to the lecture, or we will have an extensive Q&A session at the end of the lecture. You can just type in your question then as well. We will pick one by one and answer them. Don't worry, as I told you, this is a continued series. So if your question will not get picked in this session, it will be answered. So it's very important. I will, while welcoming Dr. Anura to start his session, I will also ask you to stay tuned with our monthly beekeeping session to get a full understanding and become a friendly beekeeper very, very soon. So all the best. Enjoy. Dr. Anura.
Yeah, thank you, Shamodi. Good evening to everybody. Can you hear me? Can anyone give me a feedback? Can you hear me very well?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good, great. Yeah. First of all, I like to thank Dilmah Conservation for inviting me for such an important webinar to talk about bees, which is a timely, important topic. During these days, you all are stay at home. Most of you are stay at home. So what you can do during this pandemic situation, actually, you can start beekeeping, right? So to do that, actually, you have to learn about bees and the things related to beekeeping. And I think this webinar series will be helpful for you so today's webinar, actually, we are going to talk about very basic things about bees. We are going to familiar who are bees and when they first arrived on the planet Earth, and what are the different aspects of their colonies. Likewise, right. Now, if you think about the time scale, now when did bees begin their journey, right? Now, in the right-hand side, you can see the geologic time scale of the planet Earth, or this is a kind of calendar of calendars that show different events of the Earth, during which time these different types of animals, plant species were evolved, right? Now, here you can see in the Mesozoic era, in the latter part of the Cretaceous period, right? The first flowering plants were appeared in the earth. Now, with the appearance of the flowering plants, the bees were also started to appear in the earth. Now, if you think about human beings, we evolved in somewhere in Quaternary era, so that's been around 2.5 to 3 million years ago, but that's mean the bees came here well before the humans arrived in the planet Earth. And if you think about the ancestors of the honeybees, so the early ancestor were actually carnivorous insects. So you can see there's a specimen here, preserved 100 million year old species. Now, if you think about the ecological service doing by the pollinators, so the bees, they are very effective pollinators. Bees we can consider as very effective pollinators, and they have very close relationship with plants, right? Now, bees normally pollinate 70 of around 100 crop species that feed 90% of the world. Now, imagine a situation where bees are not there, right? Now, without bees, biodiversity would not be so great. There would be no yield, no harvest, and food production will be of very poor quality, right? Therefore, without bees, there would be no flowering plants, and on the other hand, without flowering plants, there would be no bees, right? So they have a very close relationship like that. So the flowering plants and bees. And if you talk about the diversity of bees in the world, right, there are about 20,000 bee species are there around the world. So in this map, you can see the species richness, and in gray color, you can see the areas where the bee diversity is very high. Now you can see even in Sri Lanka, it is in gray, very dark color. So that's mean the bee diversity is very high in Sri Lanka. Now in lighter areas, actually the diversity is very less. And another trend is you can see the bee diversity increases toward the tropics and it decreases toward the poles. Now, if you think about the diversity of bees in Sri Lanka, so we can see
So
there are
I
many.
think Dr. Anura will give them a
Yes.
chance to guess this, right? So we have launched a poll. So please tick your answer. Just be wild with it. Just guess it and tell us, because he mentioned that, okay, I can see a lot of people are interacting. So this is just to see what kind of a guess that you'll have and what percentage of out of the participants will get it right. So I'm giving them maybe another couple of seconds. And then right, I'm ending it. So interesting. So Dr. Anura, around 31% of the participants say that there are about 400 species of bees in Sri Lanka, and 30 says about 1,000. 33% of them says that around 150, and another 22 says that it's around 700. So what is the right answer? Shall I move on to the next slide?
Yeah, sure. Yes, actually, you said 33% said around 450, right? So those are the people actually gave the right answer. So if you think about the bees of Sri Lanka, there are about 159 bee species have been found to the time being, right? So there may be some more species to reveal in the future. Anyway, for the moment, it is 159 species. You can see some workers like Vijay Sekara, Karuna Ratna, so they are the people who worked on bees in Sri Lanka very extensively. So thanks to them. So we know we have 159 bee species in Sri Lanka. And you can see different specimen here, especially in the center, you can see the Xylocopa, the big black color one. So these are very important as pollinators of passion fruit cultivation. You know, the passion fruit have very big flowers and they need some big pollinators to pollinate that type of flowers. And there are some other bees like Amygilla and Ceratina likewise. Now we can categorize these bees into two groups, mainly solitary bees and social bees. Solitary bees, they like to live alone. They have their individual nest, maybe in pots or maybe in a kind of a wood likewise. But some other bees live as social bees, where they have a colony life. They like to live as a colony, as a group, right? So the Epicerana, the bee species that we are interested on, is actually a kind of social bee. But the other bee, the solitary bees, are also very important for different ecological services. Now, when it comes to honeybee, now here we can see some classification or some taxonomic details of honeybees. So honeybees belongs to family Apidae, subfamily Apinae. Now, Apinae, the members in the Apinae, normally they have a sting, right? So that's why they can sting you. So they have a sting. And the members of the genus Apis, they normally construct hexagonal cells by using wax, right? So all the bee species make these hexagonal cells. We normally group under the genus Apis. Now, if you look at the bee species or honeybee species in Sri Lanka, so earlier I told you there are 159 different type of bees. Now, if we look at only the honeybee species in Sri Lanka, we can identify 5 species, right? And in these 5 species, we can divide into two groups again, stinging bees and stingless bees. Now, stinging bees, they can sting you because they have a sting, whereas stingless bees, they don't have any sting, so they can't attack you at all. Now, in stinging bees, you can see Apis cerana, Apis dorsata, Apis florea. Now, Apis cerana means the common honeybee that we talk actually today. Then Apis dorsata is the one that bambara bee, right? So, you know, the black, I mean, the big one. the bambaru, you know that, and the Episploria is the Dunwell bee, right? Now, whereas these stingless bees, they are also honeybees. Now, commonly we say kanai bee, right? So they may produce their next maybe inside your doors or in meter box, electricity meter box at your home, likewise. Right. Now, today we will mainly concern on that the Epicerana. Now, if you talk about hexagonal shape comb, honeybees normally construct these cells by using the waxes, right? Now, why they make this hexagonal shaped cell, right? It's quite interesting questions to ask. Why they don't go for the circular or triangular or rectangular shapes? It's because this hexagonal shape is the efficient of packing, very efficient in packing things. Now they use nectar, they store the honey and pollen in these cells. And also, if you think about the strength, it's very strong, although it's made up of a light material such as wax. It's very strong, right? Because of this shape. Actually, the human beings are inspired because of this the shapes, and later most of the engineering world, right, they use this shape to develop different structures, engineers structures. So these basic shape actually, and actually it is very costly for bees to make this wax comb. For example, they have to consume about 6 to 9 pounds of honey to produce 1 pound of wax, right? So it's not very easy for them to do actually. Now, if you talk about the nesting habit or nesting, different types of nest of the bee species that we talk, the Dunwell bee and the Bambara bee or the Dosata, they make a single comb in an open environment because they need sunlight, at least from one direction to their comb in order to communicate each other, right? So that's why they make their the nest in outside. But in case of in contrast to that, the bees, so they make several parallel combs in a concealed, in a dark place, because they can communicate. They can still communicate in this dark condition, right? So this is the whole reason why, because of that reason, we can keep them in a hive, in a box. And because of the same reason, you cannot keep Dunwell bee and Bambara bee in a hive, in a box like we used. Okay, now only the Epicerana we can keep inside a bee box or bee hive.
I think, Dr. Anura, now we discuss about what are these bees and where are they coming from, and then where do they like to live, and all those things, the ecosystem services. Now let's move on to what they like to eat. So before that, I also have a question to ask. I've launched our second poll. So I think you might have heard of this, or maybe this is something very new to you all. What is bee bread? You know, so you can quickly take maybe 15 seconds to answer and interact with the poll. Then I will share the results. Then we'll see how many of you all get this one right. Okay, I'm seeing a rapid change in the bars for the answers that we have given, Dr. Anura. All right, so let me end the poll. So what is bee bread? 35% of them say that it's pollen, it's pure pollen. And then 10% of them say that it's nectar. 56 say that it's a mixture, the special mixture that combines of pollen and nectar. So, so 56, we'll see who got whether the majority got it right this time. Yeah.
Yes. Some of the the answer for that one is actually it's a mixture of nectar and pollen. Bee bread. Actually, we also consume bread, but it is different from that one. But for honeybees, the bee bread is they actually make bee bread by using nectar and pollen. They mix them together to in a kind of ratio, and then they will feed for their youngs as well as for the adult workers. They keep it for the future use. So and now we know we consume carbohydrates and protein for our diet, right? Similarly, honeybees also needs carbohydrate, so they use nectar as the carbohydrate source, whereas they use pollen as the protein source. Now, in case of bee bread, as I told you earlier, they collect pollen and they mix the pollen with the nectar or the honey, and then they will end up with a kind of pellet, right? So this pellet they will store in the hexagonal cells, and then they will consume in the future. Now, in a single trip, the bees normally collect either pollen or nectar, not both together, because once they found a good nectar source, they will keep on continuing collecting nectar. They don't worry about the pollens at all. But when they found a good pollen source at the beginning of the day, then they will keep on collecting of the pollen, right? And for this foraging, they start the foraging activity early in the day. Now, when they look at, when they see the rays of the sun for the first time, so they will go out and they are not lazy at all. Actually, Shamodi, someone was asking about the Apis mellifera also. I saw a question. Apis mellifera actually, it's a honeybee that we can found in Europe, right? It's a European honeybee. We don't have Apis mellifera in Sri Lanka. Maybe we can talk it more at the end. Now,
yes, Q&A session,
yeah. And when we think about pollen, how they collect pollen, actually honeybees, they have hairs all over the body, in the abdomen, in the legs, in their thorax, even eyes they have hairs, maybe branched hair, unbranched hair, right? Now, when they nibble on flowers or when they hang around flowers, intentionally or unintentionally, these pollens will stick on their or land on their body, and they will stick on these hairs, and they don't lose any of these pollen. They have very good pollen brush on their legs. By using this pollen brush, they will brush all these pollens, and they will keep in a special bucket that they found in the rear or the hind legs, what we call pollen basket. Actually, before doing that, they will again mix this pollen with saliva, so that these pollens will not easily go away when they are in a way back to their hive. Now, normally to do this, they will visit around 500 900 meters from their nest, so which we consider as the foraging distance of the Apis cerana. So now we can look at briefly about the colony life of honeybees. Now, as I told you earlier, they live as a community, right? So they have different castes in it, different types of bees, and all still they have very good relationship, right? Now you can see the drones, queens, workers, 3 types of bees in a same colony. The drones are the male bees. Normally 10% of the bees are represented by the drones, but you cannot see drone every time of the year, right? Only in certain year you can find the drones or the males, right? Whereas queen, only 1 queen per colony, and she's the mother of all bees, right? And in case of workers, the majority of the bees that we see in a colony or in your home gardens are actually workers. They all are females, right? 90% of the bees in a colony are workers. Actually, individually, they cannot survive at all. They all have to live together. Otherwise, they cannot survive at all, right? So this is the bee kingdom. And if you specifically talk about queen, so as I told you earlier, there is only 1 queen. It's very interesting. Now you can easily recognize queen in a colony. She's big in compared to the drones and the workers. Her abdomen is golden color and somewhat longer than the others, and the wings are small, and she doesn't have lots of hairs on her body because she is not collecting any pollen, therefore no need of any hairs. I mean, hairs on all over the body. And normally she mate with 7 to 8 drones during her mating flight, and normally she comes out one occasion to the mating, and thereafter she will never come again for the mating purpose, right? Unless if they want to leave that nest, she may not come again outside them, because everything she needs are provided within the hive, right? It's not necessary to come out because she's the queen, right? And normally she can lay 100 to 1,000 eggs per day. And if you think about her life cycle, she can live for up to 4 to 5 years. but other members, they may live only 6 weeks, right? So queen can live long. And also one interesting thing, this queen can decide whether she wants a baby boy or a baby girl, right? If she wants baby boys, she has one type of eggs to lay, and if she wants a baby boy, baby girl, she has another type of eggs to lay, right? Now, depending on her requirements, she will do that. Now, what about workers then? Now, as the name implies, workers are real workers, right? So they are the one who perform each and every works in this community, right? So depending on their age, they have given some tasks to do, right? One set of bees will build the comb by using wax. One set of bees store honey and pollen, and another set of bees, they have to clean the hive. If you, for example, if you find any dead bodies or any foreign matter, right away they will clean it, right? They always keep clean within the colony. And some set of bee will regulate the temperature within the colony, and another group will defend the colony, the soldiers, so they always protect the colony from any intruders. And there are some nurse bees, they are the one who look after the youngs. And very interesting, there is another group called queen court. Now, these members normally always surrounding the queen. See, they always communicate with the queen. None of the other workers actually easily reach the queen, right? Now, this queen court always protect her, lick her, clean her, feed her, and everything is done by this queen court. And the old guys, right? So they are the one who visit flowers to collect nectar and pollen, what we call foraging bees, right? So as they become older, they have to go out for the work, right? So these are the different duties performed by workers. Actually, almost all the works are done doing by these workers. What about drones? The males? Actually, males are very innocent in a honeybee colony, because you will see them occasionally. When you found them, you will see only 10% from the total population. You will encounter them, and they don't have stings. They are defenseless, right? They don't collect any pollen from flowers or no nectar, and they cannot even feed themselves. It is the workers who feed them, right? Their sole purpose is to mate with the queen, and just after mating, unfortunately, they will chase away from the colony, right? The all workers, they get together and they kill the drones, or they chase them away from the colony. So sometimes if you have any bee colonies at your home, you may see some dead drones in nearby. So it's actually a kind of normal condition. Don't worry about that, right? Now we can talk about the life cycle of honeybee, right? When we think about life cycle, there are 4 stages of their life cycle. They have egg stage, they have larva stage, they have pupa stage, and the adult. As you can see here, the queen bee normally lay eggs in the hexagonal cells by keeping her abdomen in the hexagonal cell and in the bottom of the well. And you can see the C-shaped larvae after hatching. And the workers, the nurse bees, they will feed the youngs with the royal jelly at the beginning, and then it will followed by the bee bread. And after some time, they become a kind of a diverse or dormant creature, what we call the pupa, right? And they live inside a concealed cocoon during that time. And after maybe around 21 days, right, the adult bee will emerge, right? Now, to do that, actually, they have to cut the wax cap on the top, and they are now ready to work or ready to perform the responsible things they have to do within the colony. Now, in case of queen, actually queen rearing, now they have special chamber, what we call queen cells, right? Now, the queens cannot, new queens cannot breed by using these general hexagonal cells, right? There are some special structure we call queen cells. So we can talk about queen cell later. And even the drones, for the drones also, they have little larger cells in compared to this workers one, right? Now, I think you got some ideas about the life cycle of honeybee. Now, as I told you earlier, queen can live for about 4 to 5 years, but these drones and the workers live only up to 6 weeks. right? Then how they can continue their colony? Now, if they live only 6 weeks, now actually every time, now as I told you earlier, queen sees a kind of egg laying machine, right? Now she continuously lay eggs. So if she lays today maybe 100 eggs, even tomorrow she will lay eggs, even day after tomorrow she will lay eggs, right? So likewise she will continuously lay eggs, therefore the generations are continued, right? Therefore no matter the workers are dying, maybe it's after 6 weeks, the drones also will disappear just after mating, but still their day-to-day activities will keep on going, right? um, Now, I think we have come to the end of our presentation. Before I wind up this presentation, I like to draw your attention to one quote of Carl von Frisch. Carl, actually, he's a very wonderful ecologist. He's the one actually who invented the bee dance of bees. Bee dance means actually a special way of communicating bees within bees, right? The foraging bees, when they found a good foraging plant, they communicate each other, right? They give the direction to the other bees how to find that particular plant, right? So this was found or explained for the first time by the Carl. Actually, he won the Nobel Prize also for that one. Once he said, actually, the life of the bees is like a magic well. The more you draw from it, the more there is to draw. So we as a group invite you all to be joining us this webinar series. At the end of this webinar series, for sure, you will be able to handle bees on your own. Actually, beekeeping is a kind of practical thing that we have to do in the field. But before do any practical, we have to have some sound background. So I think at the end of this webinar series, you will be able to understand about bees and the beekeeping and every aspects of beekeeping. I think we have come to the question and answer session. Shamodi?
Yes,
What do you
Dr.
think?
Anura. Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for that lecture. I certainly enjoyed and learned a lot about bees that I didn't know. So thank you for that. And so let's directly move on to the Q&A session. It's being about Q&A icon is been really busy because there are a lot of questions. We'll try to answer as much as possible. So first question is from Kesara. He wants to know whether all bees of Sri Lanka are considered as endemic.
No, not really actually. Not all the bees are endemic, right? There are some now, for example, even this Epicerana, it's not endemic, but native to our area, to Asia, to South East Asia, it's native, but not endemic. You can find it in other countries also. Not all the bees are endemic, right? But anyway, the endemicity is very high. Being an island, isolated island, our endemicity is very high, but not all bees reported here are endemic.
Right. Okay. Then Vihansit has, I think maybe it's connected to this question as well. So he has a comment and a question. So, Apis mellifera aren't native, yes, but is it domesticated here?
Yeah, Apis mellifera is actually what we call European honeybee. It's not native to Sri Lanka, right? Now, if you study about beekeeping, maybe through internet or by referring books or anything, right? Most of the things available for the Apis mellifera, right? Now, even Europe, in US and Canada and all these, even Middle East, even India, in other part of the India, they rare Apis mellifera. But in Sri Lanka, we don't have Apis mellifera. If you compare these two species, Apis mellifera is bigger than our Apis cerana. Because of the same reason, the productivity of Apis mellifera is very high in compared to our bee species. So the beekeeping is very easy with the Apis mellifera because they produce a lots of honey, right? But what we have here is Apis cerana. So how do we should do beekeeping with our species. There are merits and demerits of Apis cerana. I mean, although the productivity is low, the Apis cerana is very resistant for the pest or diseases, right? So they can withstand any pest or disease problems than the Apis mellifera. But most of the countries use Apis mellifera as for the beekeeping. Actually, in some time back, Apis mellifera tried to introduce in Sri Lanka, but it was not success, I think, because the climatic condition here in Sri Lanka it's not suitable for them.
Right, right. So, Doctor, before I move on to the next question, we got an interesting one. I would also ask from the participants to stay tuned with the Dilmah Conservation Facebook page and other social medias, because we will be sharing or we will be updating on the upcoming webinar, the next one about beekeeping in the coming month. So you will get to know through the email chain and as well as on through social media as well. So stay tuned. The next question is from Chandima. So she wants to know what drives the queen to decide on the sexuality of male or female percentage on particular set of eggs.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Now, I told you she can decide whether she wants a baby girl or baby boy, right? Now, but in really speaking, it is not the queen deciding, right? It is the workers who decide whether they want workers or not, right? Now, actually, we can talk these things in detail later webinars, right? Now, especially, now suppose they want to produce another queen, right? If they want to produce another queen, that means definitely there should be some males to mate with the new queen. Therefore, the workers will produce different size hexagonal cells. Now, you know, there are some hexagonal cells in day-to-day activities, they make some in different sizes, right? But sometimes they produce these hexagonal cells little larger, right? And then when the queen wants to lay eggs, by using her antennae, she checked the size of the cell before she lay eggs, right? And if she found a little larger cell, now she know, okay, there needs a boy, right? Then she will lay a kind of unfertilized egg. Actually, she can, now I told you she involved in only one mating a flight. During that, she will mate with 7 to 8 drones. Then she can keep some sperm in her chamber, what you call as, yeah, there are some special chambers in the queen's body. And time to time, she can lay fertilized eggs or unfertilized egg, right? How to decide it? Depending on the size of the hexagonal cell. So who will create the hexagonal cells? It is done by the workers. So ultimately, the workers are the deciding factor, right? So they will make general size hexagonal cells or little larger one. If it is little larger one, then the queen has to lay the what we call the unfertilized egg, right? Then all will be drones. Now, if it is a general size cell, then she will lay a fertilized egg. Definitely, a worker will come. Now, this ratio actually automatically then decide. I think the answer is yeah.
Yes, I think, Doctor, it answers the question that is being directed by one of the participants. But I will anyway direct that. Does honeybees make the cell circular before and then rearrange itself to be hexagon? Is this true? So that's what I think you meant by general cell, I think.
Oh, yes. And now at the beginning, they will make a kind of a circle like, yeah, they make a kind of arrangement like that. And then later they will fill the gaps. And yeah, ultimately it will appear just like a hexagonal shape. And actually now if you feel, now if you have any chance to feel the inside the cell, it is very smooth, right? It is not a just cell, right? Now they make some bedding around, to serve inside the cell. They put some bedding material, so using the wax, and it is very soft. It's very soft for the young, right? Yeah, at the beginning it maybe looks like a circle. Yeah,
right. Okay. Then I'm picking up the last two questions because we're running out of time. So Harini wants to know how we can start a bee colony at home in an urban space, which we will be discussing in our 4th or 5th webinar. So you can participate for that as well. But for the time being, if you can just give like a brief answer to that, how can we start a bee colony at home in an urban space? Maybe is it possible or something like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Whoever, actually beekeeping you can do anywhere, right? Now there are different types of beekeeping. You can do migratory beekeeping, or you can do you can keep bees in your home garden, and there's a concept called urban beekeeping, right? Now even a center of a town or a city, you can keep some bee colonies, because definitely maybe in your home garden there are no any foraging plants or flowers, right? But maybe in the neighborhood, right, or maybe in somewhere else. And if you think about Sri Lanka, actually we don't have a huge city except the Colombo and all, right? Because we have enough trees, right? Now all these trees have lots of flowers. Now I told you bees know how to find these foraging plants, right? Now although you don't have flowers at your home, so they know how to find the places, right? Therefore don't worry, you can keep a colony at your home, right? Maybe on the top of your maybe the roof or wherever, right? So they will find on the other. And if you feel the growth of the colony is not that much, not sufficient, you can help them, right? At the beginning you can give some sugar syrup for them to initiate the development. Yeah, definitely. I think personally we can do beekeeping anywhere.
So yeah, actually now we have got lots of questions about royal jelly and what are the flowering plants that we can induce and use to induce beekeeping, and then about queen bee and a lot of other areas. But these will be actually answered in coming up webinars in a very detailed way. I think these are areas that you just cannot give an answer in 1 or 2 minutes. What are the flower species and how to organize them? So I will pick the last question, which is related to this lecture today, from one of our regular attendees in our webinars. So Kanchana wants to know, you mentioned a scenario called regulating the temperature, as one of the jobs done by the worker bees. So will you explain that so that we can wind up with that question? How to regulate? Yeah.
Yeah, now suppose a large number of people gather into one kind of room. What will happen over the time? It will be very hot at the end, right? Now similarly there are 34 or 5,000 bees live in a small cavity or small space, right? Now can you imagine the temperature inside this hive, right? Now so because of